Mm.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
An amazing event happened on planet Earth in the beautiful city of Beijing, China. The cosmic ray technology was shown for the first time to the public by the financial arm of Keshe Foundation, the American Mark Ray Corporation, which is traded on the US stock exchange. Mr. Keshe himself went to China to show creation of materials from the magnetic fields by using obsolete technology, or what we call rotating gas reactors with electric motors. He's using these old reactors as a starting point for humanity to slowly accept the evolution in science and technology. For 3 days straight, the reactors were run and shown live on Zoom, so that anybody from around the world who wanted to could come in and see. Black particles like dust start appearing on the white paper sheets around the reactors. These particles are being created through the reactors and the fields of the universe and the inertia of our planet. They are not coming from the room. There were 4 sets of pairs of reactors with red and green gases spinning in them. We were told they were not CH3 and CuO, but something else. They were set up in a star formation on tables inside the front windows of the Intercontinental Hotel. Anybody passing on the street could see them. White papers and spoons were spread around the reactors to catch the materials being formed from the fields. Some knowledge seekers were able to capture on video when black specks suddenly appeared on the paper, like out of thin air. It was very interesting to witness when energy first appears in the matter state. As time went on and the fields built up and changed strength, the specks formed into bigger pieces and some elongated, and some changed color into gold. This is the first time the public has been able to freely witness the creation of matter from energy. At the end of 3 days, Mr. Keshe collected more particles and showed everyone attending. An interesting thing occurred. When he touched the black dust on the paper with his finger, it turned gold. He said it interacted with the fields of the inertia of the earth through his finger. This phenomenon was written about in ancient times when the Greek god Midas touched things and it was said they turned to gold. What we witness here is how everything in the universe is created, from ourselves to the planets and even cancer.
And welcome each and all to the Keshe American Knowledge Team, or otherwise known as the University of the Universe or the University of the Knowledge of Creation. We're so fortunate to be here and understanding that the prophets were actually ignorant to the process of the creation. As we understand, there's a scientific method to this whole process. And of course, it starts from the small and builds up to the matter state. And that's the video Mr. Keshe demonstrated in Beijing just within the last 8 months at the Intercontinental Hotel. And this is showing that we don't have to dig or mine materials, that everything can be created out of the fields. And this is how we're created. We're understanding the energy dimension comes first. So we're very privileged to be here, and humbled as well to, in a way, open up this knowledge and understanding for ourselves, and of course to share it with the others. And the teaching was quite a bit about our ability to connect to universal energies, universal knowledge, universal fields. Again, it's foreign to many of us, including myself, rather uncomfortable working with this unknown energy dimension. But that's in a way what we're here to do, or what you're here to do, is to open up the mystery of the matter state of the entity to its energies. And apparently there's quite a bit to open up. But again, it's not going stronger and bigger. It seems like it's going smaller and weaker. And this is what we sort of have to create, that condition within ourselves that we can tap into things. Unfortunately, Alex won't be here with us today. He sent me a 30-minute recording. So hopefully others can add fields or add energies or whatever they like to the meeting, and we can continue to discuss. But again, what Mr. Keshe went through is phenomenal. There's a new paper coming out on the radiation, which apparently is starting to be realized in the Middle East. He talked about the cup of love, which, thanks to all those who participated in the Valentine's and other sessions as well, to develop this cup of love. Rain technology, where we can touch every inch of this planet and embed things within the technology. Of course, he talked about a glove and the mother being able to teach her child to connect in a way. A glove that's actually tuned. Again, this is beyond the imagination of the man. But for the knowledge seekers, we've heard about these things for quite a while, and apparently there's been many demonstrations. An antibiotic as a universal. So many things. We were talking about the Sistine Chapel and how Leonardo sort of painted that picture, and that's what came to me in a way about he said we can do so much with our fingers, or the fingernail is the best nanomaterial, I guess, in the universe, and how we can make that connection without actually physically connecting. Maybe this is what Leonardo was trying to impart, that we don't have to physically embrace to actually embrace energies and other things and create things in the universe. Of course, we heard about fish, and we heard about tuna. We've heard about eggs in this workshop, and a number of other things. Even copper cutlery was discussed. Blood pressure was discussed, and the inflammation that's created out of high blood pressure. So many, many insightful points, I thought, and many things we can actually do for ourselves to improve our lives, with us knowing, or as it was indicated, some of these people that use the copper water containers or utensils actually benefited themselves with or without them knowing what they were actually doing. And this is what's happening. And of course, when he mentioned the colors and the bandwidth, we were talking about this before the session started, and I brought up this game of peace and enlightenment. And when he said each color sort of has a bandwidth or something like that, it brought me back yesterday to the teaching of the bells and the stained glass. As this, he said, the green, they tell you to walk in the jungles and things and look through the green as the sun is pouring through the leaves of the chlorophyll, giving different shades and so on. So I think this is a very similar thing to what's happening there in a way. And of course, I have no proof of that. This is just something that I'm surmising, but I see the different colors, how certain things light up and create different effects. So this may be the stained glass, and perhaps what is being embedded in this game, the ability to connect, and also the fields of peace and enlightenment. As he said, as you play this game, the ethos actually sinks in, the ethos of being here to serve and not to um, being here to serve and not to be served, and many of the other things where the stronger feeds the weaker or elevates. And again, so many beautiful things that we're learning. But I think this game will have some extremely powerful effects as the energy dimension, or what he referred to as these cosmic rays, antennas, and of course the Mark Ray Corporation, the financial and licensing arm of the Keshe Foundation, is the home of the cosmic ray technologies, and we're quite susceptible, apparently, from the astronauts down to the planet to the pilots, to these cosmic rays and how they can actually change an environment and change many things. So this is just one of the things. But before we go any further or into the workshop, let us just again reaffirm our ethos. We're introducing a new science, a new ethos, and a new language. And perhaps that language is the language of love. The ethos is where the stronger feeds the weaker, and a number of other things, elevation of the soul to serve. And then, of course, this new science, this energy science, where if we start to interact with the energy dimension, the matter state will, in a way, fall in place if we need it. But this is what apparently is being put forward, to try and fall in love with the energy dimension, as opposed to still fall in love with the matter state, but not to kill and destroy it. And apparently this killing and destroying has a bigger factor than I've ever realized, I would say. As I read the holy books, it gave me dominion and the right to take any other creature other than another man. But now we're learning a deeper understanding. So this is the World Peace Treaty. Obviously, we need to keep elevating the situation or the souls of the leaders, and that was part of the intro video. Maybe we'll play that before we go to create this Dome of Peace, which is part of the work of the Keshe Foundation and the Knowledge Seekers and any other person who wants to join in. Where at every day we gather in the energy dimension and use the fields combined of our energy or centers to actually make an effect through our consciousness on the souls of those who appear to be in charge, but in the final analysis, they're mere spokespeople for those operating in the back, but we can touch those as well. So this is the World Peace Treaty, finding peace within yourself first. The greater struggle, as they say, is within yourself. You're a better person, speak better, think better, talk better, and then changing the outer structure. But the bigger structure is within yourself, and that's what all this is about, finding peace. And I think as you start to pick up the non-destructive nature again that we can operate in, we're helping to fulfill this more and more. As he said, our hands have been programmed for one thing, and we can reprogram or go back to what we used to do with our hands and our understanding of raising this up and actually connecting. And that was that beautiful picture, which maybe I should even show it now if I can. We were talking about this Sistine Chapel picture. Again, I don't know a lot about it other than when he talked about the fingers, and it just came to me yesterday or earlier today or at some time. I said, there's that picture of the finger connecting, and this is what he's talking about, connecting to universal energies, universal fields, universal knowledge. So the door is being opened, systems are being prepared for us to actually make this connection. And it's not a physical connection, it's a connection in the energy dimension. But maybe this is what, in a way, Michelangelo was showing in this picture. Perhaps we do see a lot of different positions of hands here. And of course, as you raise your hands, you can create all, and you cock your head and so on and so forth. You can create all sorts of antenna configurations in a way. I've been doing this a little bit more than I ever have. And just saying, I'm here, I give what I don't need, and I try to absorb what I do need. And of course, this is the way knowledges will come forth in the coming time. So we just thought we'd show that. Thank you, Randy, for sharing that. We can always go back to it if someone has more. But let's start with our World Peace Treaty, just reconfirming the ethos. I'm not quite there yet, but this is our wish to get to a permanent peaceful condition, not only on this planet, but starting within ourselves. And this is a reactor that you can create, or start to create that dilemma within your own mind. Am I peaceful? Could I be more peaceful? Where have I missed? What have I been offending, perhaps? Again, with my thoughts, with my words, with my deeds. But only you can open that up, balance it out, and so on. Anyone, is there anyone who would like to read the World Peace Treaty? If you're for peace and freedom, proudly step forward and open your mic. You don't have to be an angel to read this. Okay, I'll read it. We, as citizens of the earth from this moment on, accept to lay down all tools of aggression and war. We shall never think about getting involved or incite war or develop or use any tools of war on this planet or in space. And to this we all agree and swear with our, and you can delete as appropriate, our nation, territory, our council, our religion. That's a big one. Our city, our town, our body, and our soul. Simply put your name there. Again, this is matter state, but you are creating a reactor. But you don't have to sign it, as we understand. Once you go into space, you probably never find anything written. There's no pen in the soul of the man. So you make that wish of moving closer to the Creator. As we understand, the Creator doesn't kill or destroy anything. And if we can sort of master this behavior, the soul can live forever. There will be nothing that can bring its demise. But again, we're not quite there. We're making wishes to be there and starting to understand how we're offending. So after signing this treaty, be proud to display this certificate wherever you consider being important to you, that everyone can see and know your ethos to fellow men and the mankind and other created beauties of the Creator. But this is the part up on top that's been sort of gnawing at me. We shall never think about getting involved, cite war, or use any tools of war on this planet or in space. So I'm thinking about these space fleets that they have and different things, or, we know what war tools are on this planet and taking them into space. But what I'm thinking is the space is actually that space or that dimension of energy between your two ears that you operate in. This is the space that you don't incite any tools or war. And this is where I think we find the peace as well within that structure. Because if you're thinking, as he said, if you think correctly, then you don't do wrong and you don't talk wrong. And I always go back to these holy books when I used to read them more, and where it was said that if you think it, you have as much as committed it. But I could never understand that, and that was a big anomaly to me, because if you don't physically do something, how could you actually do it? But apparently there was a revelation there, and I think there's a revelation within this peace treaty, but it's for each one of us to sort of find it. Any comments about the World Peace Treaty? This is the document the world leaders will sign, of course, when they get around to it, and maybe the conditions these days are bringing that more into fruition. I remember Mr. Keshe saying certain presidents would create certain conditions for certain technologies to emerge. And perhaps that's what we're seeing now, but certainly we continue to not wish for one side to win, or not wish for any side to win, but we're wishing for peace to be the winner. We're leaving the national flags outside of the laboratory, let's say, and going there. But as we know, we may have a bit of a ways to go. And how things, Mr. Keshe talked quite extensively about the war and the lies of the war, or the omissions and the rest of this, and how many people perhaps will, Azar opened up a little bit of a question there about the holiday. that's being celebrated, and Mr. Keshe went a little bit deeper into it. Again, knowledge that I wasn't ever truly aware of. Any comments anyone would like to make? Okay, and we're continuing with the transmission sessions. These are not transmutation sessions. These are transmission sessions, and there's another session coming up. Perhaps it's not in March, if you're able to, or even buy a ticket for someone else. And this keeps the Keshe Foundation free for humanity to develop such amazing technologies as we were talking about. A glove you can put on, or a child could put on, adult as well, and wish for different things. So this is what's happening when you join some of these monthly sessions, they call them. And of course, you don't get a lot of feedback, but you're requested to feedback to the Keshe Foundation to confirm what they're testing in a way and keep the Keshe Foundation free in their hands, not tied by taking certain monies and certain grants and others, and then directing the research and how it should go and how it's peer reviewed. As we know in the foundation, there's no peer review. You're the peer reviewer for yourself and no one else. So please join us. And of course, we'll probably see some of these beads as another product for sweetness that you can wear. Again, this is wearable advanced space technology, and of course a glove coming out, an antibiotic, and it may not come as fast as we'd like it. As we know, we're too much in a hurry to see these products come out. As Mr. Keshe said, some of this is due to not giving the Chinese a double whammy, so to speak, and but there's a process, and Mr. Keshe is well seasoned and his team well seasoned. But this helps the team and the technology to develop. Remember, this is all in its infancy, even though it's light years ahead of man's understanding in the matter state. But this gives you again, you can feel good about the work you do, the person you are, and the difference you're making just by participating in these sessions, or if not participating, buying a ticket, and if not buying a ticket for someone else, then just adding the fields and trying to connect. I think that was one of the what people had mentioned, that they're able to, or believe they're able to, connect into these systems, which, as Mr. Keshe said, once you're cataloged in the system is running. There's a central system in Europe that is being used, perhaps more than one system, and in different locations, and we can connect to these systems. Again, this is that Sistine Chapel idea, what Mr. Keshe is bringing forth here, the idea of making the connection with the universal energies, not with the physicality of God, as God is made of energies, and we're energy first as well, but just tapping into knowledge fields for enlightenment and for feeding yourself and balancing certain situations. And as he said, any knowledge is available if we can sort of tune our system to it. But it's up to you. I don't know fully how to tune my system, never mind me tuning up your system. But again, we go back to this central energy, your soul, your closest friend. I was always rather uncomfortable about that whole talking about the soul and this and that, because I didn't know anything. And how did I know anybody else was right about what they were saying? But certainly, as Da Vinci was trying to solve this central energy problem by opening up cadavers, Mr. Keshe just comes along and points out where that central energy is located and some of its functions. Many of its functions, I don't think he's opened it all up. As he said, the soul has its own line of communication and its own dimension of interaction in a way, but it's yet imprisoned within the structure of the brain as well. So many beautiful knowledges will be revealed, but keep this picture when you're thinking about connecting. And again, not to a physicality, not to someone on the throne, but just to these universal fields. And by raising your hands, apparently that was perverted as well into praying, as we see in many of the Pentecostal and other types of religion where they raise their hands and praise God and the rest. We're talking about making a connection here to universal energies and fields. Okay. If there's no comments, we will go to the announcements. Anyone? Okay. Let's see if we can manage the announcements. Yes, we'll have Rick do the Dome of Peace in a way. Now I had written down the timestamp somewhere. We'll play one of the ads from the store. I think the, let's see, what is it? Just trying to find it here. Sorry. Again, we create these as we go along, a little bit of it anyway. All right, I think it starts somewhere around here. We need to find where Rick Graham. We'll just play. Now, this is a product in the store. This is a reactor on top again. But to me, what stood out, and of course, this is what we're teaching, this energy dimension, try to trust what you can't see. Plasma wind. And of course, as reactors ourselves, we can create a huge amount of plasma wind. This is not hot air. And some people say you're full of hot air or a lot of blah, blah. But this is actually an energy or an emotion that can be released and connect to anywhere in the universe or any other soul. But again, this is seems so far out from us that we keep falling back to the matter state, something we can see and something we can touch. So we'll play this and then we'll go right into the announcements and perhaps the teaching following that. Any comments, questions? Feel free to stop it at any time. Contribute fields or energies or emotions as you choose, and share with us how you've been, in a way, enlightened. Or again, something.
Mark, I'll talk a little bit about something. It's more of a general, something of a general nature.
Can I leave the background up, or would you like a preferred background?
No, it will be short because it's what I would like to kind of bring into focus is that Mr. Keshe, in the last Knowledge Seekers workshop, of course, he talked about the fingers and the hairs and the antenna structure and the energy transfer using this mechanism, but that's the energy side. But he also talked a lot about the physical dimension of our existence on this planet. So, and this is the thing that, interestingly, I've been testing some stuff in terms of improving my eyesight. I mean, I was affected by antibiotics when I was very little, and my eyesight got bad because of that. And now I'm a lot older, and I've been testing, and you can really quickly improve your eyesight by focusing on natural scenery and environment. There are certain exercises you can do essentially in focusing and all that. But I won't go into that, but I've been testing it and it's very effective. And so there are other things he talked about, like eating, stressed fish and chicken and all that. And then the posture.
Yes.
So the thing that I'm trying to talk about here is that, yes, we can do some physical things, like, look at nature, things like that to improve eyesight, and the way we put our foot down when we walk and all that. This is the physical side of it. But we have to look at from the other side, in the sense that the emotional side, or our state of mind, or the soul of physicality, that side affects our physical posture, affects our eyesight. And we can correct it by doing physical exercises and paying attention to how we do it physically, but we can also come to it from the other side, the soul side and the emotion side. and observe the changes in emotion. I'll give you a very specific example. When I do these exercises of my eyesight, like when I'm looking at doing some exercise with my left eyesight, I can feel muscle tension in my jaw, in my arm, and a little above elbow. And these are some things I never knew that they existed. But when I do it, I notice it. My eyesight is connected to these stress points. And as I relax them, things get better. I mean, immediately. It's unbelievable. So some of the things that he mentioned, the way we carry ourselves, the way we walk, can dramatically alter our behavior, our thoughts, our emotion. So we can come to the physical side, pay attention to some of these things, and this immediately improves our emotion, as well as we can engage the soul side to pay attention to these things. So in a way, we have to look at it holistically in the sense that both the physical side and the soul side are important in the emotion that goes in between the two. And in the exercises I have done, it's very clear that you can feel these things. And just as we, you can even see some of the things like people love to do yoga because women generally, because they're emotionally much more connected to it. And they feel the emotional changes, I think, more than the physical changes. This is something we can't just think in terms of just soul or just physicality. But as we combine it as a complete, the physical side has its beauty and charm, as does the soul side. And we can't think separately. And this is something that, as we do Keshe Foundation stuff, the soul aspect, of course, is a very powerful side, but the physical aspect cannot be ignored.
We're creating our own diseases on the emotional level and through the physicality as well, it sounds like. He talked about the walking and the heel should hit first, and if it doesn't,
yes,
don't get that sort of signal sent up to the back of the calf or something. And a rotation of the shoulders backward. I mean, in a straight line, as he said, can change the field interaction, or tilting the head down. And now you've created a different infinity loop between the thalamus and the thymus, let's say. Again,
yeah,
never understood our own structure. And this is what's being opened up in a way.
This is not just our emotions. This has been my bad habit. I observe people and try to assess their emotion. This is kind of like a hobby, even when I was young. And it's you can tell a lot just by the way a person walks.
How they hold
a lot about his history. Now I know many things in Keshe Foundation, and I know I can do more. But even when I was not that capable, I could tell stuff. And it's amazing how much you can tell just by way a person walks. And his history is, his thinking or her thinking, it's unbelievable the amount of information they carry. And it's not just how they walk, how their posture changes as we interact. Mr. Keshe talked about it, like, as people interact with heads of state, how their posture changes as they walk towards the person, things like that. He covered a lot of these posture things over the years.
Or how even crawl to the person sometimes.
Yes. And how people shake their hand. He went into considerable detail in that area. And there are a lot of these things, physicality and emotional or attitude or our history are not separate. And we are like, once we kind of understand, it's not just for us, other people become open book. You can tell when they're fabricating things or all sorts of things. And you don't need a lie detector. It's very easy, actually. But anyway, so my main point here is that yes, we have to do the soul side, but the physicality is not independent. And in order to make this planet the peace and place of peace and prosperity, we have to do all of it, and they're not separate.
Well,
And anyway,
that'll be one of our hobbies, he said, is to teach the children of Mitra.
yeah, I think women will do a much better job than I would, but that's because Keshe talked about it, because they are emotionally much more attuned than we are, and guys are.
Wait a minute, Mosfek, weren't you a woman at one time?
Well, I don't remember that part conveniently.
But at some point in the process of what do they call it, maturing in the womb, apparently there was a switchover point where we all started as women and some of us switched over. I don't know the explanation for that, but apparently this is a scientific study. Mr. Keshe reads a lot of scientific studies and sort of distills them down. He doesn't read books, so to speak, but he does read studies and sort of distills, as he said many times, this is not just a talk. This is the studies. And again, there's so much more to develop. Anything else, Mosfek?
No, I think I just wanted to talk about this physical side a little bit. And we emphasize soul aspect a lot, but this is also something that it's an integral part of our existence here and perhaps elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. This is
or even, and I have to worry about this now that you mentioned that I can be a woman as well. So it just made the whole job more complicated. But yeah, I'll take it.
Men have quite a lot to learn from women. Again, especially in this area of multitasking, where men usually have the ability to concentrate on one thing and one thing only at a time, where women can be multitaskers, doing many things simultaneously. And of course, this is the way the creator, he sent out his little parachutes in millions and billions and zillions of directions and connected to everything. So he's quite a multitasker, as Mr. Keshe is, as you can see, developing technologies, meeting with ambassadors and influencing other things in the scientific community, in the educational community, the energy people, the food people, and so on and so forth. So yes, he's interacted beautifully, as I see it. And again, this is not something he just picked up on this planet. This is they're well seasoned, as indicated. They've been doing this around the universe and bringing civilizations into the larger family. Even though we're all part of it anyway, it's almost like if you ride on the train and you're next to a homeless person and they haven't showered in some weeks, it's quite offensive to be part of that in a way. And I think this is why we're separated from the universal community in so many ways, because of our behavior and our emotions are not quite correct. And this is why they're a bit apprehensive about interacting with us and a little bit shy of revealing themselves, let's say, because they see what's going on in the Ukraine or in the Middle East and what's been going on for thousands of years. But this is the taming that's going on this planet. So we're very fortunate to have a universal teacher here teaching us again past the matter state of the understanding, even though there's, as Mosfek just said, there's a lot we can do and understand in the matter state as well. Okay, so let's just hear this ad, but I think this is This is the idea, time to trust what you can't see. Plasma wind, and you can generate it. Not from the backside, I'm talking about from your central reactors. Okay, let's listen to this. This is a product in the store, or it was in the store, and you can sort of see the ad itself is rather self-explanatory. Another offer from the foundation. I think Rick is, hopefully it's running, yes.
Okay, bear with me while I attempt to restart my video here.
And of course, the Keshe Foundation store is here, soon to move to shop. Whatever. And as we've often heard, we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. And when I just saw that material being introduced into the reactor, and of course we know our reactor is spinning all the time, perhaps that's an emotion in a way, that you can introduce any sort of emotion or wish that you want to into that reactor, and it starts reacting. Again, using the matter state to reach the level of understanding of our central energies, or the soul of the man. And of course, you're a huge field generator. This is what we haven't fully understood. Much easier working in that energy dimension than the matter state, which takes a lot of work. This is what we're doing when we create this dome of peace, I feel. Anyone else? Any comments? But that's you, that's your reactor. In a way, if we could sort of imagine that. Let's hear a few minutes today.
Okay, we are back again at the 632nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here, part 2. And as I mentioned, there will be an opportunity for questions, and we have some already, in fact, a dozen in the Q&A. And again, I remind our attendees that you will be able to put up your virtual hand. And as I said the words, a hand appeared. And Yeah, so but before we get into the questions, Mr. Keshe usually has a few answers before we begin. So please go ahead with whatever's on your mind today, Mr. Keshe. I'm not able to hear you, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, I'm here. I forgot to press the button.
Okay.
And feel free to stop it and ask any question or contribute some emotions, anything you'd like, some fields.
Thank you very much. As we enter our 13th year of teaching, I hope we can share much deeper knowledge and make it much easier. And many of you have had problems, or you had problems in connecting with our systems because you always do through understanding and work up your physical dimensions, and you can change it to work through the energies of the field of the life of the man. You'll find that you connect to the system we set up and the way we set things up. This is why we gave you and we supplied all sorts of universal cosmic ray materials to make this much easier.
Again, finding space technology, cosmic ray material, this carbon-14 in the Keshe Foundation store. You could just take a look and peruse many, many different plasmatic items in the store. And of course, as he said, the store will soon disappear and it will all be moved apparently to Shopify. But again, if you're an artisan, contact the Keshe Foundation if you'd like to perhaps introduce your product to or supplement with the plasma technology. You can write info@keshe.foundation and make a suggestion or share what you're working on, and it may open up a new field for your line of product.
In understanding the work and the systems, it has become part of our responsibility to make facilities for ourselves, because we are the only one who can tune to understand and connect.
Again, we are the only ones that can tune and connect. I think he's not talking about them. Maybe he is, or the foundation and its scientists, but isn't he talking about us? That we have to tune.
Our technology is the system we develop. It's just to assist you to learn. Is that L driver license on the back of the car with a driving car from the School of Driving, with 2 clutches and 2 brakes and 2, what do you call, what you have to change gear, to stop and to accelerate. The rest is in your hand. We are not the driver. You are the driver. We are there to guide you to learn gradually. And the technology and systems we live with you is for you to learn. Some is mechanical system, and some has to come from the inner soul of the man, desperate enough to learn the knowledge of the creation. Since
desperate enough to learn the knowledge of the creation? When someone is desperate, does that mean they have a strong emotion when they're desperate for certain things that they want to achieve? That's a much stronger emotion than just, I want a glass of water. I'm desperate for the water. This is a much stronger emotion, I would think.
Last week, we have left the same system on, and for the next few weeks, the same system will be on, which means you can connect anytime to the system, to universal energies, and in a way for you to improve yourself, in a way for you to be able to tap into universal knowledge. And as we develop these technologies further, you get more benefit of understanding a higher level of the connections. In a way, it doesn't come by elevation, it comes by lowering the weaker fields that we become close enough, but they still exist to be able to understand. We are testing And we have made the system available, and it's ongoing. Try to listen to the system and ask yourself, have you been enlightened? Have you understood anything more than last week? Something you wanted to know about yourself. It's not necessarily knowledge, but about knowledge of yourself, knowledge of creation, anything else.
Anyone want to share anything? Again, that's a bit personal, but maybe if you just acknowledge that something is happening. We've heard this through others as well. They're sort of absorbing other energies or noticing certain changes in their environment. And this whole process is just building, or again, maybe going lower and lower, humbler or more humble, as they say. This seems to be where the Creator lives, the small, the weak, and the giving. And even below the, as Alex would like to say, the pico, and even below the fenta, or whatever that word is. So we're going lower and lower, and it's for us to sort of create that connection with apparently with the brain and the soul.
And if you see something,
or the neural system, as it's been called,
which has come to you, try to understand the emotion at the time when you understood it. And then you find gradually the way to connect to universal fields, to be able to sustain and gain from the universal energy and knowledge than the physicality and knowledge of the man. We leave these systems out for the time being at the same field of strength that by coming and going, you learn more. Listen to the teachings during the week, whatever, again and again, not to listen to the word, but to create a connection with our system.
So that was interesting, not to listen to the word, but to try and create a connection with their system. And apparently they're making it easier and easier to do. So it's not so much the words, it's creating a again, it's up to you to facilitate that, or to be desperate enough to want it.
And then see what you gain, what enlightenment you receive. We're entering the cycle of the energy and fields, and not the cycle of matters and the reactors. We create those in the background for the matter state. And we have entered the phase of the field of the creation of the universe, which brings you very close to the book number 8.
And remember, you can order book 1, 2, and 3 from Amazon in different ways, I guess in a paperback or in an e-type of book, but there's a number of other books that are partially or fully completed. They do need some touches, and Mr. Keshe said that he's going to endeavor to bring these books out into the public domain. But again, that was a number of weeks ago, but at least the book number 1, 2, and 3 now has been brought into the major Chinese language. Again, this is reading the book it's in simple writing, but it's put in a way that we've never heard a lot of these terms and connections and understanding actually what's going on and in a way outside of the matter state. Anyone want to make any comments on book 1, 2, or 3, or book 8? This is part of taking us deeper.
Origin of magnetic field, which that brings us to creation of life. As we call the field of the universe and the field of the creator, the magnetic fields of creation.
And this is what he was saying about the prophets. They were ignorant to this process of creation. I never realized that, but again, it's a scientific method. It's not just somebody said something and everything happens. There's an actual process building up from a speck or below speck and then up into the matter state of creation. But so we've gone here in the Keshe Foundation actually past the knowledge of the prophets as far as the knowledge of creation goes.
Now you understand why we go this way. And we are entering the final phases of the teaching in a dimension till we start teaching you a new knowledge in how to read the encyclopedia of the life of the universe. What life means, how life created, how stars and planets and galaxies become to take the shape of, what is their function, and how you recognize which galaxy, which combination, you call it constellations, mean where it takes you and how you will enter a new dimension of the higher order to be enlightened at the highest speed.
So why would you need to know and recognize all these different galaxies, combinations of constellations, the shape, what's their function and the rest if you're just going to be a star? Anyone? This sounds like preparing a traveler in a way that would travel across the universe and understand the different creations and what all this means. He said to read the encyclopedia of the life of the universe.
In a way, in the English word, we call it the sling effect. If you understand what the slingshot effect is, in a way you can use the process of the fields of the universe to slingshot yourself closer to the Creator. You made mistake on earth. Maybe if you understand it, you can compensate by it. But the cost you pay will be very high if you understand it. If you made a mistake and the same mistake is repeated. Teachings will change in a very deeper way for you to become educator of the children of Mitra and not educator of the children of man.
So again, he's taking us deeper so that we can become educator of the children of Mitra, which again, these children of Mitra, you can create them at any age, he said. And again, it's the interaction of fields, almost like this immaculate conception process where they're created out of the fields of the universe. And this is the way apparently they actually create things in the universe. They don't have certain organs like we do to do certain things that brings about a creation. But this is the creation out of the fields of the energies of the universe. And they're calling it the children of Mitra or this new soul. I think it's a new behavior, a new emotion. Or perhaps we will be teaching them something in the matter state. I'm not sure. That's what someone else was saying. Any comments on teaching the children of Mitra that you've created or others? Why would we have to teach them as they have access to the entire knowledge?
But isn't it, Mark? I thought they were talking about the comparing us having soul children through our souls, rather than the physical way. Okay, so then it's better for us to be able to work with the children of Mita through the soul than it is through physicality.
Okay, again,
Where are
I wasn't ever familiar with Mitra, again, or that's the dimension of physicality in the creation, let's say, or the children of Mitra. So this is sort of all new. I know
I mean, we're supposed to be, hopefully for the future, learning how to be, how to create children of Mitra through our souls.
yes, this is what was mentioned
Yeah.
in videos that he said your true children will come out of your soul in the future time.
Yes, out of the children, create children of the soul of the man. So that means the children will not be afflicted with all kinds of diseases and problems. They'll be pure.
Yeah, apparently they're going to be that free spirit where they'll be able to take on whatever dimension they'd like. It's not something that part has to be taught, but maybe there's other things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Failed to create the children of the man to become peaceful. That's for sure.
Yes, this is what it seems to be all about, that we're not as peaceful as we perhaps think we are. Because if you understand the process of creation and the love of creation, once it's made into an entity, it has to be held sacrosanct, respected, not only here on this planet, but across the universe. And of course, man has felt he's above the other creatures, whether it's a plant, a vertical, a horizontal walker, or what have you.
So you understand which way we go. As more of you learn how to create children of the soul of the man than the children of the physicality of the man, we need to teach you how to become good parents for the children of what we call universe, as man has miserably failed to create the children of the man to become peaceful. Gradually in the coming time, we spend time to teach you, and it's for you to be enlightened how through these connections the children of the universe are created, and which part suits you to create a perfect children of Mitra. I hope you can learn, and I hope you understand there is no age in creating the children of Mitra. It's man's physical age with limitation, but there is no limits in how the children of Mitra are created in the universe.
So apparently, Gail, this is the interaction of fields. Is this your understanding? It's not a physical interaction. So if we or a number of people contributed to fields, and then this entity decides to take on the manifestation of a butterfly, or no manifestation at all, I'm just puzzled that how are we going to teach these children of Mitra? Because apparently they can manifest in whatever they like or not manifest at all, stay in the dimension of energy, or easily move back and forth from the matter state to the energy state. This is one of the gifts that the whole universe is actually getting. The creator is doing some remodeling.
I'm not sure if there's a connection for a long time, but he seems to be indicating a need for them to have the souls that created them to be with them for some time. But then I think he'll probably expand on that.
Oh, yeah.
And if we're going to teach, we would have to teach through the soul, which remember, I keep repeating how I asked for my soul to help me speak to a group. And I had not one single clue, no nothing. And everything went very well. So I think that's, our souls are certainly capable.
Isn't that a nice feeling when it arrives just on time? I mean,
Absolutely. It's unbelievable.
maybe before that is a little bit unstable, as you said, wondering how you were going to do this or gain the confidence or whatever was going on, but it just arrived and you did what you had to do, yes, with great success, as I understand.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I started to speak about something that had not been on my mind exactly, although those are things that I do think about, now and then. And all of a sudden, the words started coming out, and I thought, "Oh, wow." And they were so quiet. They wanted to hear everything. So it means I think that the soul was in connection to the creator in a way.
Absolutely. These were children, right? You were speaking with?
Well, grade 10, not, I mean, definitely, the troubled group. So they didn't disrupt nothing. They were so listening 100%.
That's very nice. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it was.
The trillions of years, the Creator still leads his field to creation of new life. So what should be any different for man? We go to any questions. If you have any questions, let us know and try to answer.
Okay, any questions or comments anyone would like to make? I think we'll go back to the actual teaching, but again, many beautiful things revealed, as I said, with the cup of love and the new paper being written, the universal antibiotic, the glove technology, learning how we can sort of gain that muscle strength and our balance and so on. So many things we can do, and many things the Keshe Foundation is doing. But let's hear this teaching. It does sound like it'll be sort of a future. Again, maybe people that pick it up now will start to use it, but this does seem like a sort of a future gesture in a way. So let's go back to the beginning of the workshop. It's only about 39 minutes. Feel free to stop it as always, and we will continue. Let's see, where are we? 21 something, right around 21 minutes. Okay, here we go. Again, opening up this idea that we can use our own structure to tap into energies and satisfy some of our emotional and needs for the physicality as you feed the soul, which you're already doing anyway. If we understand how the process works, you're already converting 80% of your energies from the universe and the environment into something you can use. We're only 20% short, and this causes us to behave rather funny and steal those energies from another entity. And apparently, as I said, once it's made into a matter state entity, it's forbidden to sort of steal that energy. But it's quite easy to do. And yes,
I have a question about it. When we say 20% short, when we're digesting our food that we're killing animals and vegetable leaves and everything else, it takes a lot of energy to break that down. So maybe in fact we're short because we have to put so much energy into physical digestion. So I wonder if things will change and we will have a very much easier time to feed ourselves from the energy field.
yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's much healthier as well. And of course, you're not collecting souls in your knapsack. But as it was stated,
Backpack, yeah.
uh, you eat 2,500 calories, and it may take half or more of it to actually convert it. So you're absolutely
Exactly. Yeah.
that you need to process it, almost like you have raw material copper, but yet it's not a finished copper. You have to process. It takes quite a bit of energy to. Ike, did you have something or anyone else, please?
Yeah, the process of mastication, when you chew, you're also taking energy. But then when you absorb the fields directly, it's less energy conservation. That's what it is. You take time to chew. You need energy to chew, and then that's part of it.
Yeah, so as he was saying in that New Tomorrow video, where the structure, where he talked about the Indians and the Pakistanis were the same till one took a different energy than the other, and then we see the difference now. But will our physical senses be diminished if we're not relying on the physical vision or the touch as much or the chewing? Will this whole digestive and process, I think it's going to change over the next century or two in quite a dramatic way. Well, I don't know that, but I think this is what Mr. Keshe was saying. Our physical structure, as we start to play in the energy dimension, will change. So will our five senses be degraded? It will actually be more accurate, but not with the five senses.
It's probably going to change, but then you also have to remember when we start producing or creating offspring, whatever changes we have over time, we give that through our seeds to the offsprings, and then that generation will entirely change because you have the seed, you plant that seed in, that's already some type of metamorphosis within your body. So definitely, once we don't need it, we don't need a digestive tract or whatever, it will change. It will change the body structure, and then the DNA will change, and then the offspring will change from there.
I think it's
That's
an aspect of immortality. As he said, you can learn to absorb energies not only here, but anywhere across the universe or link to any other entity you like to link to. So this is the world of the creator in a way, the energy dimension. we're still in the matter state, but we're learning about this new dimension that we can be more respectful and to the others and ourselves in this whole process if we move in that direction. But that's completely your choice.
And also, in one of the workshops that I always speak about, it took 20 minutes to hydrate my body once we connected to the system, only 20 minutes. And I went for 2 days with no water. And for the food energy, I didn't want to eat for 3 days. So it's very, very quick and powerful and pure.
And that was back in, and I had the very similar experience, Gail. That was in the end of 22 and the beginning of 23, where we had these, again, monthly sessions of dining with the creator in a way. Not really understanding what that meant, but certainly whatever they were touching us with had an impact of sort of being satisfied for much, much longer without any intake, just the fields. Gail experienced it. I experienced it. I think others have experienced it as well. Some people are already there, perhaps, but I had never sort of experienced that. Always, even fasting for one day was quite a dilemma for me. But in this process, and as he said, if you need more in a day, you just go back and tap into those energies, these cosmic rays, because we're very soft targets as we're already converting quite a bit of it, transmuting, if you could say, these energies into things we can use within our own structure. So he's just upping the game a little bit here by changing certain fields or increasing our ability to absorb by realizing we can connect and wanting to connect and having that sort of wanting to move away from the killing and destructive nature, whether it's in the mind area or physically killing. As he said, everyone is connected. The one that makes the bullet and the one that delivers the bullet and the one that shoots the bullet and the rest of it. You're part of this. And this is what he's trying to, apparently it has a huge separating factor and a huge implication when we go into the universal community that you can't do this. This is forbidden, as they say. And you won't last very long, I think, if you approach it that you are going to consume another entity. It doesn't work. And this is why we've been sort of put in the back garden. We're still part of the family, but just till we get our behavior corrected, we can enjoy so much more of the universe. Come out of this little village of Earth into the bigger city, the bigger dimension. Again, beyond the imagination of the physical life of the man. While you're still in the physical life, as I understand it, you can experience both simultaneously.
Thursday, March 5th, 2026. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of workshops. And once again, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will be presenting today's program. So without further ado, please go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you. Wherever and whenever you listen to this, there's a knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As usual, we welcome you back. And according to our data and what we have, we enter the 13th year of these teachings this week, or sometime around this week. We've been here for 13 years, and we just listened to one of the sessions some 12 years ago. And it sounds and it looks not much difference in the past 12 years, except the man has reached the final phase of how he can destroy himself. The connection of the man, the soul of the man, and the structure of the work of the universe is unlimited. How we connect is in a way in what we listen to. In a way of listening is not with the ear of the man, is with the feeling of the emotion, the strength of the emotion.
And again, as he said, listen to these workshops to see if you can connect with the system. But there is things embedded, hidden technologies, I believe, embedded in these workshops, not only live, but even in the recording. So, but again, it's not so much the words. He said, try to connect the emotion.
In maybe a comment and see if anyone can expand on it. How do you connect with the system? How do we give to the system? What is the plasma way?
You said it right there, Ike. You give to the system. This was what we learned when we dined with the creator and they had a table set up of various items. And the first session was try and take what you want. And apparently it didn't work as good as the next session where he said, give to the system. Don't try and take from the system, and you receive what you need. So I think you hit it yourself in a way. You said give.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, wanted to find out if that's a process, because the fundamentals of plasma that we know of, you lower the strong gives to the weak. So, but you initially make the contact by giving in to be able to receive.
And we've been practicing in creating the Dome of Peace, and we'll play a few minutes of that Knowledge Seekers Workshop from the 23rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop about 8 years ago about learning this giving process. Again, I've never been fully comfortable with that because I've been a taker more than a giver, as we all are, in a way.
True. And I'm going to repeat again.
Yes.
After Dr. Gatwa's class, I've been trying a lot to start off and say, I give peace and joy and unconditional love to the Creator for my excellent health or whatever it is. If there's something wrong, maybe I have a pain in my knee, but I just say I give all that for having a perfect knee or whatever it is that I need to say, or perfect health or perfect physical structure, something like that. And the pain goes away. So I'm still practicing.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at it, the definition of love is giving with no condition. So when you give with the intention of getting to receiving, isn't that conditional? Because that's another way to look at it.
Again, we're
But
just
the way that it's done with, if we look at what Dr. Gatwa was saying, it's not even, it's just being thankful for something that is already there.
Okay. Well, so you have the intention. The intention counts. It's already there.
Absolutely.
And then you are just appreciating that first.
Yes. Yes, and it has an effect, and it's quite amazing, actually. But you have to be careful that you don't make it a condition. That's the thing. So that's why I start off and I say I give unconditional love and I give peace to the Creator for receiving peace, not waiting for it, just thankful.
Yeah, I've been putting my hands up in the air and saying, I'm here. I'm here. And I noticed now I could feel pressure on my palms when I hold them together to try to create that ball, or they're a little separated. But the last few times, or the last few days since last Thursday, I can actually feel some heat in my palms as I raise my hands over my head. So there is a connection there. We're already doing it. We're just acknowledging it and strengthening it. The way we read the World Peace Treaty to reconfirm the ethos, in a way. We just have to believe in it. Yes.
Or other than just saying it, what is the science behind it? Because if we remember, we have the two souls, the soul of man and the soul of physicality. And when two plasmas connect, then you produce the third. So in a sense, you produce that physicality. So if you create that wish, you connecting to your soul or to the soul of the system. How do you squeeze that connection to be able to make that connection? How do you squeeze those plasma? Because at that point in time, your intention is obviously you're squeezing it, according to Mr. K. So what is that a process to that as much as you are putting that affirmation, to doing that statement, appreciating
You
the
say
words
you,
that you said?
yeah, you just started off and you give. I give unconditional love. I give joy. I give peace to the Creator. You give it
Is that a
for,
breathe?
yeah, for receiving something that's already there.
Yeah, but while you are doing that, do you breathe? Do you change your breathing? Do you remember about the two plasmas coming together? Do you remember the teaching of squeezing the plasma to make that connection?
You're talking about the soul, and for me, it's about the soul. So I'm really, really, it's the feeling that comes is amazing. It's very if you think of the word joy, it's so full of joy. It's maybe that's the squeeze. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
Or
anything. I'm just trying to improve the connection and the flow. This is what he said in the last workshop. We're sort of cleaning those pipes to make that flow start to happen, that we can be in that flow of the fields of the Creator more than the flow of the fields of the matter state, which we're far too involved with. As he said, far too involved with nothing. But we think it's everything. So I'm just trying to wish to improve the flow of it. Did you have a?
Yeah. I try to get out of my head and go into my heart. So my intellect and my knowledge, my intellectual knowledge doesn't interfere with my accessing my feelings. Because I've tended to be very intellectually minded. Mm-hmm. And that blocks my feelings in a way. So if I get out of my head and just let things go, then it works better for me.
Do you have, do you notice your emotions or your breathing when you're doing that?
For me, what I do is I just try to expand my physical heart, kind of the location of my heart, and it makes it warmer and it radiates out somehow.
Yeah, and remember, the Creator is hungry for acknowledgement. Remember what Mr. Keshe said? The Creator
Right.
soul is just waiting for you to make that connection. It doesn't impose it on you. Yeah, apparently the soul gets tickled just like a little kid, in a way that you give them a candy or a toy and you see them light up. So
yeah, and I've years ago I received from someone a prayer that comes from hundreds of years ago, and let me just tell you what that is. That which I am and how I am, with all my gifts of nature and grace that you have given me, I offer them all to you, principally to praise you and to serve my fellow creatures and myself. That kind of puts me into a very centered state, into a state of openness and giving. And also giving to me, because I tended to not give to me. So that helped me a whole lot to just remember that.
Yeah, that's all. It's all part of it, and I believe in that. But if I apply alongside with what you're saying, if we apply that teaching with Mr. Cash on how you make a wish, and why some people make a wish and then it comes true, there's a science behind it, and it involves the magnetic fields within us. It involves the squeezing of making that contact between the two plasmas. So, but we do that unconsciously without knowing it. Just like your statement, yeah, you move your physical heart to your soul. So that is squeezing to me. That's where you're making that contact. So when you acknowledge something, or it's like you see something, your fields are there already, because this is in energy. So in a sense, when we are breathing or twisting ourselves to where our physicality is not in motion, but then our energy, it's in full force, I think that could also help in granting that wish alongside that statements.
Yeah.
And we're all hungry for acknowledgement, to be recognized. And don't we bring this up in the One Planet where he said, speak these words to your soul? I love you, my soul.
Yeah, same thing.
Exactly, right.
I love you, my soul, and I love with you, and I adore you, and see what your closest friend will give back to you. It doesn't say that. It says, see what the soul will give back. But as we know from this universal teaching, your soul is your closest friend. But we're looking for our closest friend in the matter state. We never name our soul as our closest friend, but according to these universal teachings, your soul is your closest friend. It came to your creation, and it's a scout and many other things. We just haven't connected with it in the right full way. But
and if you notice, all these things we're saying now, when you listen to this teaching, Mr. Kesh said, you just don't listen to the words, you listen with your emotions.
Right.
And what is emotion? Energy in motion. So all these thoughts, all these intentions, and the focus, and the way we feel, and the way we breathe, these are all emotions that comes along. So you're not just listening to listen to the words, but you are actually going through that process. And that creates that emotion. That's what I think.
Yeah. And again, it's just the way you said it. Perfect. I don't mean said, I said the way you said it. And we don't need confirmation. If you go to the priest, he's not going to confirm this, or the Pope, or the Ayatollah, or any of these. The soul has been, this central energy has been hidden from us intentionally. Just the way they changed the position of the hands from receiving to praying. And that was part of the abuse. But this is what we're doing. We're opening up people to this universal knowledge and a real complete understanding, in a way, at this dimension level. But as we see, there's much, much more to go or to unravel. But he's quite a good, let's say, manager of the team in a way. Even the other universal teachers are quite impressed with the work being done here, as he's informed us.
The soul of the man is very much like a radio, where you have to tune, and exactly at that strength, you reach a channel. And then you change slightly, and you know what number to look for, and you go to the other channel. If you were what I call children of 70s and 80s and 60s, we used to have all our radios with a little tweeter. We used to twiddle with this Not when he used to go and he made a lot of noises and then he tuned to a voice and said, oh, this is this channel. We twirled with it a little bit and he went a little bit of shamam and then it was another music or something else, another channel. And in tuning to a soul to another soul, there is no difference.
Anyone have trouble tuning a radio to the right channel? He said there's no difference at all. But you have to tune yours. I have to tune mine.
We have to tune that we can connect to the strength of the soul of any position, place, and person, and whatever in the universe. We twiddle it a little bit because we got a point of reference. We call it, we drum about the mother, and we twiddle it a little bit, and we hear the voice of the scream about the cat and the rest of it. In a way, if the man learns where the station is, that he can talk to the mother and where the station is and what the strength to speak to the father and the rest of it, doesn't matter when they died or when they are, wherever they could be in the universe, or they are in other parts of the earth, man can do so.
Who's saying that besides Mr. Keshe, that you can connect with anything, anywhere in the universe if you learn this tuning? The rest seem to say this is special abilities, but as we know, every created being has all the aspects or attributes of the creator, just a different size, a different amount, and a different strength. But we can develop that. This is what he's sort of opening up.
One of the challenges of the future, as I said in the last teaching, is not to go to millihertz and microhertz. We have to go much, much lower. And then find out at what gravitational field strength the plasma changes into a noise which connects to the person. This is what we call resonance. In the material world, when we have a resonance is when we match. There is a magnetic field of the soul of the man. And when that resonance is achieved, that's the mother connection, or is the cat, or is the father who died decades ago. Physicality, we cannot connect, but through the soul, we can connect because it's an energy pack. And as part of our DNA, RNA, and part of the connection of the soul of the man, we know it's embedded in us for connection.
So again, remember this when we do the Dome of Peace or at any time that you can connect with any other soul's entity, not so much the physicality, but the energy dimension. And a lot of it has to do with your desire or your belief in that emotion. The stronger the belief, I think, the stronger the emotion. Emotion connected to the wish connected to the hydrogen connected to the creator, and the completion of the cycle. Again, not every wish is met within seconds or minutes. Some of these wishes, as Mr. Keshe said, he's been here for quite a long time wishing to bring this planet into a permanent peaceful condition and join us with the universal community. So sometimes these wishes, he's stated many different things about the wishes, but it doesn't always manifest instantaneously. But we're certainly learning the process. Or perhaps we need to continue to pulse it or change something within our own structure to bring it to completion. Again, there's different levels and understanding of wishes, especially when he said at our level of wishing, we have to consider everything. And I know when I wish, perhaps I'm not considering everything because I'm not aware of everything.
But the only difference is that in the life of the man, we know the physical mother or the physical father. In the life of the energy of the man, that energy of the father is the creator who created us. And the frequency of the universe is the frequency of the mother. These frequencies, man through the world of science have not managed to achieve yet. It's not that they're hard to achieve, they are that high to achieve. They are so low. To achieve it needs a better understanding of all of the creation.
So apparently we're going to take this into a more humble, a lower position. Again, I don't quite fully understand this. Anyone want to share their understanding? They are so low, to achieve it needs a better understanding of the world of creation. Okay. And of course, we were always taught the big God on the big throne in the big heaven and the judgment and the rest of this, with all the angels around it and the whole sort of masquerade story. This is not how the Creator operates. But we can connect with it, and it's much weaker and smaller. So we have to become in resonance somehow with this.
Means man has to find frequencies
Is there a
below the
connection?
frequencies of today's knowledge and
Sorry, go right ahead.
Is there a connection to meditation to achieve that type of frequency? Because the frequency in matter state is totally different, I assume, to frequency in energy. But what is that transition?
Well, there's
What is
frequency in the plasma, right? The frequency comes when the matter state is created. That's where I think. But he does say, find that frequency below what we're used to. But I thought there's no frequency in the plasma until the frequency interacts with the wave or the particle, and then you end up with the matter state.
I'm not sure. Somebody mentioned, I believe it's MOSFET or ECMA, whoever. We're talking about the pulse. When we are talking about the pulse and frequency, you get pulse in energy, and I understand in energy it's mostly magnetic and gravitational fields. You get the pulse on it, but once you get to physicality, the frequency starts. So that transition to physicality, it's when you have the frequency. I understand that, but then what is that smallest of the frequency? Is there a limit? Because each frequency is different. The type of frequency I can absorb could be different from your type of frequency, and yet it's still small. So, but to move to that realm, that dimension from physicality to, from energy to physicality, it started at that smallest and the smallest and the smallest frequency. Which frequency is that? Do you know that? What is that frequency? Is it practical to our ears, human ears?
Again, I need a better understanding of this world of creation.
Are you saying, Ike, that the closer you get to, I'm trying to say this the right way. Okay, there's some point between AC, which is physical, and DC, which is energy in the plasma state, as I understood it. So the point that is closest to the beginning of AC, is that like something, I forget, 1/10 to the millionth or something like that? Would we, so we're not that far. We've understood a little bit. I think Pico was the last size that we went to, but there's something much, much less than that.
Right, there's something smaller than pico, but then how do we
Ne-
observe that?
Well, I
Because
guess when,
it's go ahead.
no, I was just saying that as we went from the nano to I forget the next one, micro, and then pico.
And that
So it means that we have to find something that will take us even further. Maybe it's pieces of the pico then that will go to minus 10 to the minus, I don't know what we could come to.
how about
I don't know if that's what it's all about.
an emotion?
Maybe.
We can't really measure an emotion, can we? It's not
Yeah,
tangible.
you can. You can. You just that we don't have the equipment, but Mr. Cash is able to. If you look at those graphs, when we log in our Zoom, and we could the obviously the graph moves based on what he's teaching, and then you see how our fields of emotion moves. And he can go to a certain point, which is the soul. We can go further than that. And that's where it's centered or collect. And then before it comes down. So he's able to measure that with that system. But we're talking about frequency. If we understand that frequency, it's attributed to matter states. But in energy, the energy comes before the matter state. So there's a point to where the energy moves into matter state. So at that point, that frequency is the smallest. What is that really? Obviously, it's not pico. It's not. There's smaller and smaller point. And then how do you determine that? That's
Start doing research, Ike. It's time.
no. I believe Mr. Cash has he will explain it. If pulse is all about, if you have the definition of a pulse, like you have pulse in our palm, I look at it as give and take, give and take, give and take. That's magnetic field. But then what is frequency? What is that frequency to where you can actually observe it? Because that's, to me, that's what the frequency is, to where I can observe it, I can feel it with my emotion. And then it's now into matter state. So what is that frequency? What is that lowest of the lowest frequency?
Yeah, he's bringing us into this knowledge. This is what he's saying. We have to go past what we understand today into this deeper.
Right.
Yeah. So this is part of the new teachings, I suppose, where we go deeper into the knowledge. So more to be revealed. And again, we all take from these teachings what we can absorb, what our intellect allows. But as he also said, no soul has a corner on intellect. So we're all sort of in the same position of growing in this knowledge at different speeds and different strengths. Again, depending on your determination. Remember how determined that girl was to grow her arms so she could play the harp? And that went on for, again, I'm sure she made the wish, but it took 18 months or so for that process to fulfill itself. And I'm sure every day, every week, she was wishing her arms could reach the further strings on the harp so she could learn it and play it. And eventually it manifested.
Technology, that it can become closer to the frequency, to the strength field of what we call the soul of the man and the soul of the creator. I asked our people, can you make such a low frequency? And they said, I mean, this is as much as we go. Sorry, at this frequency, you're still in matter state of the man.
So you see, even the team that's working with Mr. Keshe is sorry, at this frequency, you're still in the matter state of the man. But maybe others can explain it, I'm sure.
This brings a need for man to develop new technologies that can create frequencies at the strength of the hydrogen in a plasmatic condition and not hydrogen in a matter state. And then the same with carbon-14 or carbon-16, that man can gradually tune into, connect with, and be in parallel dimension as the field of the Creator. And
when he says gradually, man can gradually tune into, do you think he's kidding there?
and if you understand this, you can practice. I want to see my mom. What is the frequency? What can I need? What do I need to generate? Why do I have a dream about my mom every time there is a problem? Or every time I know something is about to happen? Is it me or is it mom looking after me to inform my soul that that translates to knowledge in me to know there is a problem or there's going to be something to be done?
Is that like a premonition in a way, where somehow the soul of the mother is giving you an indication that there's going to be a problem, or be aware or perk up your ears? Something may be coming your way?
As I
To create these
understood it,
systems.
or from what I hope I understood, wasn't it Mr. Keshe was saying that in the plasma state or the energy state, you may think that there's deja vu, but in fact, it's just faster, quicker. So let's say that your mother is in the plasma state or the energy state. So she will see what is going to happen before you do, because you're in a matter state, which is much, much slower. That's what I understood, but I may be wrong.
Okay. Well, your soul does that as well, correct? Isn't that
Yeah, fast.
scout? It looks in 360 degrees, nothing is hidden from the soul, and so on and so forth. But anyway, they're in the process of creating systems, mechanical, I guess you would call it, systems to help us in this process, if you choose to, take the offer.
We need to develop technologies which works at the field strength of the universal fields and not the man-made matter state. In the coming time, man will move away from the matter state systems and will move into the energy system, where he can receive, he can contain, and very much the way is the dynamic structure of the solid state of the brain of the man allows a dynamic energy state of the soul to be captured and held in a way is cocooned, in a way is kept a prisoner to. And if you think of it in a very special way, look at this
And
spinal
anybody
cord
can
of the man.
explain that
I refer to this
sentence?
And you're explaining what?
Okay. The last statement, Mr. Keshe, where he says the cocoon needs to develop systems in energy, but he explained the process of using the brain to cocoon the fields. I'm not sure I understand that.
Anyone?
Well, if you can play it back 1 minute again and see if anybody captured that.
Words are right here, Ike. Where he can receive, he can contain, and very much the way is the dynamic structure of the solid state of the brain of the man allows a dynamic energy state of the soul to be captured. So the brain, it sounds like, is capturing a dynamic energy state of the soul. Or again, we know that the brain is imprisoning the soul.
So what is that dynamic energy of the soul? Because if the soul operates in fields, so how do you capture that fields? You can say the dynamic portion of the soul. And we know that the soul can only operate in fields.
Right, but for you to understand it, it has to go through the brain, just like the dream. If the soul...
No. Well, but remember the brain on the two sides. The brain is a physical. It has it's attributed to physicality sort of, but the soul is in the middle, which operates in fields. So the dynamism of that field is captured. When you said captured, does it mean interacting with the brain? Because I look at it that the brain, the soul is in the middle, the brain are on the two sides. So if you create the emotion to where the fields move from the soul, and obviously it will hit the brain. Is that the interaction, or is that what he means by that statement?
How else are you going to see the picture of what's going on unless it goes through the brain? This is what he said in the dream. If the soul doesn't back channel it through the brain, then you have no idea of the dream.
When you capture, okay, if everything is all about, everything is made up of fields, but the brain is able to interpret that fields. So the brain is capturing that field to then give us that physical interpretation. Remember that. So the memory is in the brain. So we have all that, and all those memory, it contain fields. So, but we're able to remember those because it hits the brain.
So Ike, is the brain and the soul of the man in a way playing ping pong or table?
It sounds like it, because that's the dynamism right there.
That's what I was just thinking. There's kind of a table tennis where they're hitting this ball back and forth, or these energies back and forth, and
right.
Perhaps they're getting stronger. So that's a good picture in a way.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a good way
Perhaps.
to look at it.
Again, I'm a very. Anyone want to add anything? I'm just imagining that it could be like that, and perhaps it is. He did say the wave and the particle, and you know how you wave the soul through the emotions and the rest, Gail? Maybe.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the ping pong, when it hits that porous, it reflects back and increases energy, but it increases it.
Okay.
Though, if we look at the energy state of the soul, then the energy state is much, much more powerful than the matter state. And then he mentions that the neural system is that dimension with your fingers and your toes and so on, especially your fingers. That dimension, you actually connect into the universe, the universal field.
Okay,
I think he's going to expand on this a little bit.
Too, but in the interim, let's go to the Create the Dome of Peace. We can come back to this and finish this teaching in about another 15 minutes or so, and then go to Alex's teaching, which is pre-recorded for today.
Yes.
Does that sound okay? So let's go to Create the Dome of Peace, which is another project in a way for all of us to participate in and to bring the change on this planet. But again, it's not a day job. It's a rather a long-term process, but maybe this slingshotting effect is going to speed up the whole process individually and collectively. So what we do is it's a two-step process, and every day until we reach a permanent peaceful condition on this planet, let's say, we'll continue this process. So it's opening up this energy dimension or the mystery of it, and we become a little bit more comfortable with the whole process. Maybe what I should do, let's just see where we are in this workshop. Okay, so let me just jot that 20, what was the number there? 2857. We're going to come back to 2857. In the interim, I think I want to go to 1:32, which is part of Azar's question. Let's see if we can just bring this up and thank those who've been creating all these beautiful transcripts that we have an ability to sort of zoom in on something we want to highlight. But here, Mr. Keshe, I believe they're talking about one of the holidays in the Jewish tradition, and Azar's not understanding so much. And Mr. Keshe goes on to explain how much life is been lost on this planet. Of course, he's always said is the religions are the number one reason, not even nationalism, but the cause of the death of the man on this planet. And as we said, do we need the religions? Because again, they give the pretext to the world spokespeople in a way to move forward on these interactions. And now we see three of them getting involved: the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews in this Middle East situation. So hopefully we can extricate, as I said. But this is part of creating this process. Maybe we can instill this a little bit more within our structure, that it's needed. And only those who are aware of it are actually participating in it. And most of the planet is not. So this is part of raising the collective awareness of the souls on this planet to bring a peaceful condition. We as humanity have to want it. Otherwise, it will not manifest, as I understand it.
If you can't beat them, join them. We have joined the man to change the man the way he enjoys, to bring, what do you call it, energy to itself. We'll go that way. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up here with Azar. So please go ahead, Azar.
Hey, good morning, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I have a few questions, Mr. Keshe. I was listening to this guy, and because March 2nd to March 3rd was a Purim celebration, and Purim celebration, because I remember when I had my practice, I had a doctor that used to work with me, and he was Jewish, and always, he said it's a Purim celebration, and I always congratulated him. I said, enjoy your celebration. And I didn't know what's going on. The guy explained that Purim celebration, it was happening in Iran during Chashayasha, and then his wife was Esther, and then the wife, by trick, she was Jewish, but they pretended she was Muslim, married him, and then she kind of inflicted on the king to kill.
We lost 300,000 Iranians. The Purim celebration is the murder of 300,000 Iranians. And this was the plan of the war of this time in last week on Iran.
That's what this guy was saying. That's what they want to do it and then celebrate.
Yeah. All the Jewish celebrations on the murder of others. They never celebrated anything good. And so when I told you, if you remember a few months ago, I told you that the Jewish work on a calendar and what and which day.
Hey, Mark, I got a question here.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
The Passover is a Jewish celebration, right?
As I understand it, yes.
And that is the killing of the firstborn of Pharaoh. I mean, I remember Catholicism.
That's a different, yes.
It's a different one?
Yeah, this is Purim.
No, I understand. That's different. But Mr. Keshe made a comment that all the Jewish religion is all celebrating of a killing. I never understood it, but it makes sense knowing that the Passover was where they put the bloods in the doors or something. If I remember my book of Bible stories growing up, they were if you don't have that, then your firstborn is dead or something. Am I correct? I think that's something about the Passover.
Sort of, again, I've never studied it really, but put something over the door so the angel of death will pass you by and, you won't be taken or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know because we're just not thinking deeply about all this stuff, and then we go by like nothing and then celebrate that. But it's kind of like a group think, kind of like what is going on now. Look at the war. and people are celebrating, yeah, we gotta fund it, we gotta go to war, but not minding that it's all killing. You're killing someone, you're starting a religious war, and you are actually making your own religion to be more important than the other people's religion, and then you don't expect them to react. But people think that, oh, this is the best way to do. We have to protect. What are you protecting? So it comes to that group think. It's dangerous, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is the condition of mankind, and if the fields on this planet don't change, we're going to stay in that condition. As Mr. Keshe, I think, said in the last workshop, that's what they're here to do, is to adjust the fields on this planet. In many other ways, it's a combination of many things. But again, killing each other, but we're also killing other structures that we think is perfectly acceptable. And I'm sure they're asking us, why are you doing this to us? The souls are fully aware. The physicalities might not be, but the souls are. And again, this is a separation between the creator and you. The more we do, the further we go. That's what he was talking about with the vegetarians and the meat eaters. The meat eaters seem to be a little closer to the creator, although they're still in the same process. So this is what's being overcome on this planet, and it's going to be a pleasure. It's not going to be something you'll wonder, how come we didn't get here earlier? As he said, when we used to eat once every 3 or 4 days, man did live to be 700, 800 years old. But now that we're eating 3 times a day, the life expectancy is much shorter. And we're bringing about, again, through these acts of physicality, in a way, our own demise. Let's continue. Any other comments before I go? Okay.
It is disguised as part of what we call Jewish belief. They're hoping by Purim, which is coming up, they'll kill exactly when they kill 300,000 people in one cycle. And then they celebrate more. Now you understand how religion has come into and how they timed it.
But then another guy was saying the day they did it, if you look at 9/11, if you look at the calendar of Iranian, become 9/11, and it says on that day they decided to, the first bomb they did, they have to draw innocent blood. That was the school they hit. That started that because they have to
everything is done by purpose, by time, by the rabbis. And this is what I told you, this is a war of religions. People.
Now, Mr. Keshe is a direct descendant from the line of Muhammad on the father's side and a direct descendant from the line of Moses on the mother's side. I think all the rabbis and other people are fully aware of this around the world, even the Rothschilds, who are some of his relatives, apparently. So Mr. Keshe isn't just speaking out of his hat. He's actually experienced these and grew up in both sides. So he has quite a beautiful sort of spectrum of seeing both sides on the father's bloodline and on the mother's bloodline.
People don't see what we see, what we know behind. And thank you very much for opening that, Azerbaijan. But that's all it is. This is the war of the religions, using nations and governments like fools walking into slaughter. We talk about, when you talk about 100 and odd girls to be killed in one school and the rest of it, according to the estimates today, over 11,000 American lives have been lost in Middle East. Soldiers, civilians. And they only say 6. And aircraft carriers carrying bodies in coffin in your state is full of bodies brought with the flag of United States. When you say drawing blood, it wasn't just of the Muslims, it was of the Christians too. This was the pattern. When the Americans put their wives and their children in these hotels in Middle East, and when they got hit, they had no sirens. There is no air shelters anywhere in the Middle East, any of
And remember, in some of these other nations, you talk about the United Arab Emirates, there's about 60 million people in this particular area, as I understand it. And of course, now that the strait has been cut off, apparently that's a lot of the food that comes into this Middle East area actually transit this little port there, this little waterway at the end of the Gulf. So they're facing, perhaps, depending on how long this goes, of a food crisis as well.
The Arab nations. When these bombs hit these hotels, these buildings, these what we call even military bases, they had nowhere to hide. They never thought they get hit and incinerated, literally incinerated. They are shipping bodies which is left. What bodies is destroyed in these fires, what is destroyed in there don't exist.
So again, as the old saying goes, the first casualty of war is the truth. So if you're looking to get an accurate report across the medias, apparently it's not quite there. Maybe bits and pieces, but not a full reporting on both sides, not just one side. So this is the first casualty of war, is the truth of what's actually happening.
Is a missing person, and it doesn't exist. You don't need to tell to their families. They're not there. We don't know what happened to them. 11,000 plus American citizens have gone missing in past week. This is the statistics internally from them. Over 180,000 Iranians have been killed in the past week. Over 35,000 Jews have died in Tel Aviv and in Israel. Humanity has lost nearly 250,000 population in less than 5 days. Media control.
But Mr. Keshe, I don't understand.
Let me explain to you. The Americans put all their people into these hotels. They moved them to be safe in hotels they never thought would be touched. And these hotels, these buildings, is incinerated in one go. The noise, the material, the debris, the shrapnels, and nobody died. How come if one place is said, they said the thought, when it comes to the American Israelis, it's all few injuries. This does not work. This is how they fool people. A building with 400 or 500 people is totally wiped out. 400 buildings are wiped out. There was nobody in these buildings. Israelis never lost a soul. They're under the debris and they cannot get out in the silos. You heard of the gas chambers? Israelis were getting people into the basements to these what they call underground bomb shelters. That's what they're doing to their people. When these tall buildings, this 1 kilometer diameter has been burned. I can give you pictures of how much has been destroyed in one bomb. The building is on the top. Nobody can come on the silos. They die under their own inhalation, lack of oxygen. They don't talk about it. It happened last time on 12 they were in June. Just sit back and think.
Hey, Mark,
I can show you 1 kilometer diameter high.
Yes, go right ahead, Ike, please.
There's something else involved in this, because I'm just thinking about, what about the life insurances? Because if they are hiding the passports and declaring that missing, so there's no death certificate, and then these families they are losing both ends. They lost their breadwinner, if that's a breadwinner, and there's no insurance death benefit because you don't have a way to pay because they are not claiming that the person died. It becomes a missing person. So it's all fraud all the way. This is crazy.
No body case.
Ike, just a clarification. Insurance never pays for acts of war. It's in the policy. I have not seen any insurance policy that covers act of war.
Okay.
If you can find one, let me know. So they're off the hook. They're off the hook from the get-go. Yeah, it's really bad.
Oh Lord, this is terrible. I didn't even remember that. And you're so right. So, and these are all the enablers. They're encouraging all this because they're trying to fight. Jesus Christ, this is crazy.
Thank you for that contribution, Ike and Elias. Yes, I hadn't thought about that as well. But again, even if they had to pay, there's no body. So there, as Ike said, there's no certificate. They're just, we don't know where they went. They're just missing.
Highly populated central Tel Aviv hit in past 5 days. Nobody died. Where did they go? Did they all move beyond that side? The estimate by the Israeli government itself internally is over 180,000 is in Iran and not far behind in Israel, but we say around 35 confirmation. 1,000, that is not individuals. Listen to what I told you last week. Listen to the teaching of last week, what I said. And I gave a warning 24 hours, 48 hours before it starts. Ayatollah Khamenei knew that he's going to go because he did not follow. He asked all his bodyguards to be away from him, that when he dies, he's on his own. It wasn't something accidental. He went there to be a martyr. He went there to make sure it's him alone. Just read the security reports which is coming out. Usually they're within hand reach of him, maximum. He left them all behind because he knew what it was going to happen. We lost 250,000 people in 5 or 6 days. And nobody talks about it because they're all Americans. They're all Jews and they're all Muslims. It's a three-way war between the religions. Now Europeans are coming in. Watch how much financed by Vatican. You watch and you see. My biggest fear is this last guy to come in. There'll be no United States. And yesterday he announced he's waiting to be asked to come in. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. He was waiting for this opportunity, and God forbids if he comes in. I say goodbye to all our American
and his missile
listeners.
Can get to us here in California. That's North Korea, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So you can see how close we are in a way in destroying part of ourselves, which we don't have to go. That's why we're wishing for peace, and peace be the winner, not any one side. Humanity be the winner. But that's not even counting all the people that die every day in the normal process of dying. So that was quite a bit in just a few days. And if this escalates, it could be a lot more, a lot faster. Maybe they'll come to their senses. This is what I would call going the hard way. And hopefully we don't have to go the hard way till we wake up and say, maybe we should try peace. But of course, as he said, some of these people are being, in a way, coerced into it because of certain information that's being held by certain parties.
Who's this guy?
Called North Korea.
Oh, North Korea.
Yeah, he's announced that he's ready to come in if Iran asks. Or if the Chinese ask him, or the Putin ask him, because they have contracts of self-support. And his missiles are very well directed. Seoul, Tokyo, and New York, Washington, Los Angeles, and everywhere else. And there is no reach there. You see what happened is one of the worst things happens is that because they thought in one day once they kill Khamenei, everybody goes up. and it'll be the end. They didn't calculate that they're going to use all their weapons. So they have taken 90% of the defense systems from South Korea and Japan into Middle East in past 3 days. So there is no defense left. 2 missiles, 3 missiles, South Korea is open belly up. Tokyo has lost most of its defense. They took it with them to Middle East not to lose. And again today, this past few hours, we heard the Kurds of the Iran are moving against to split Iran from Kurdish side. We are back into Syria and Iraq business as of this afternoon, which we knew. We informed the Iranian government this is what's going to happen. Then we are waiting for the Turks to break up, and then Tajiks to break up, and then the Afghans on the other side to break up to split Iran. This was the plan that they reached the holy Israel. But we will answer in time.
Mr. Keshe, my question is like the mentality of these people, because they have a red cow, I heard, and also this guy is a guy, one of the top guy, Ben Gavin, I don't know what he's saying, but he was saying very openly, he said, look, send a missile from their side to kill one of these Arab country, one of the king, and then he said, look, let them kill each other, and then we get rid of all these baboon. He called Muslim baboon, and I said, "What is this?" Because then there was a there was a photo. There was a There was a photo in 1947. There was a huge boat of Jews. They were coming from Germany, World War II. They're coming to Palestine, and on the big platform it says, "Thank you so much for giving us home because they killed us, they tortured us, and then you're the only one who give us a home." And then I said, "So you guys went through that, and then I just don't get it."
You know, this is how you force people if you conquered, or when you're a conqueror, you want to change things. You know, when you look at in Farsi, they pushed us to change things. We say Gaza. Do you know what Gaza is? It says, what are you eating? It says, can we have a Gaza for lunch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The word we use. Well, it's not an Iranian word, it's an Arabic word. And they forced the Iranians to use it for food. Because we have a different word for food. Do you know what Gaza is? They're forced by the gun, by a sword. They say what you're eating, and it's only for the Iranians. They call it Gaza, which means the piece of camel. Urinating. That's what it means in Arabic. To humiliate. To know these are not Iranians, because an Arab never drinks a piece of camel. Never use if you're Iranian Gaza. It's the same now with this group. When you meet the 7.
So are you getting the idea that we're here, that no one gets abused due to a lack of knowledge? And again, it's not the Jews imposing this. This is another sort of sect. But again, for humiliation, degradation, and the rest.
And Jews.
So much for religion.
The carer of.
Yes, as we know, religion equals abuser. And of course, Mr. Keshe has a lot of ways of expressing that. One of them was they seem to be able to cash out your pocket and your soul.
Of the Jewish faith, when they meet, they're actually financing many people to make sure the Messiah comes, what they call Messiah. And they ask for leaders. We gave you all the facilities for you, and you failed us. There are recordings of them live, of being in, I don't want to say anything else, that they ask people, they are paying war leaders to create the war, that what Messiah, we call it Messiah in English language, to appear. The 7 are financing wars for to fulfill the, what do you call it, the holy words. So don't worry about it. Everybody has done their best to destroy humanity one way or another, somewhere down the centuries on this planet.
So again, 5,000 wars in the last 3,000 years, even with the gift of the advanced technology, within one generation or two, we'll be right back to the same behavior. As Mr. Keshe said, it's important to understand the technology, but more important is to understand the ethos, which is the idea of thinking, speaking, and acting good, and the stronger feeds the weaker rather than take, and about serving, elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not so much a throne in the physical life. So let's go back to the Dome of Peace, perhaps. Let's see here. We're going to bring this one back over. And we're going to go to the first step of the Dome of Peace, and this is to release the Gans waters. Very simple two-step process. It's a twinity process in a way.
I don't know if anyone wants to read this Dome of Peace. Anyone want to offer? With a nice voice. Okay.
This is what came in and what is now become a pattern. This from a guy, I don't know him, but he says, please remember this Sunday and every Sunday from now on, till we raise the soul of this planet to a peaceful planet. Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers worldwide will spread the gas waters around the world at 12 p.m. Central European Time and or 18 p.m. Central European Time every Sunday at the same time as they choose which time to suit them. Thank you for participating in this greatest movement by the soul of the man to bring about the peace on this planet as the permanent feature of the life of this planet.
Okay, again, very easy to release Gans waters. You can release it down the drain or any sort of way you'd like. Put it in a fountain or river on your property, anywhere. Spray it. And again, it's not only limited. Apparently this material, this Gans water carrying the fields, seems to have a intelligence about it, and it's seeking to create balance, and it knows where to go and it knows what to do. And this is just part of the bigger structure, I think, as the energy dimension of the One Nation network is introduced. This is probably going to energize the GANs that you've released even in a bigger way, or perhaps energize it past its current position. So this is the first step of creating the Dome of Peace. You can go on the Keshe Foundation wiki, learn how to make a GANs, very simple. Again, you're creating a material out of the fields in a way, or out of the gases, if we could put it that way. Converting the CO2 into a nano of itself, which appears as a solid in the matter state. And then we use the top third of that water after the GANs is rinsed and settled to release into the environment, and then you just refill it and allow it to settle again. And that can be used many, many times for many different purposes, not only creating the Dome of Peace, but that's the application here. So now we'll go to the second step of creating the Dome of Peace, which is the power of the souls. And what I'd like to do here, we'll hear Shweta read it. Thank you, Stefania. We'll hear Shweta read it, and then let's go back before we actually take 1 minute of our time and contribute to the world peace process and show you how easy the process is. But we'll go back to the 23rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for 5 minutes or so, even though it's about a 20-minute video, where Mr. Keshe is teaching back 2015 or so about learning to pray for your soul. And as he said in this workshop, that not much has changed since that time that teaching was delivered. So there's plenty of work yet to do.
Anybody wants to read the Dome of Peace? I mean, beautiful souls in here. Okay, I'll read this beautiful presentation. of Dome of Peace. And the Dome of Peace is already here. All the knowledge seekers, truth seekers, lovers of humanity has built it in a way, spreading the guns, loving each other as shareholders. So I will read this as please remember, every Sunday from now on until we raise the soul of this planet to a peaceful planet, Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers worldwide will spread the Gans waters around the world at 12 p.m. CET and or at 18 p.m. CET every Sunday at the same time, as they choose which time to suit them. Thank you for the participation in this greatest movement by the soul of man to bring about the peace on this planet as a permanent feature of the life of this planet. Mr. Keshe suggests we add the next step to create the Dome of Peace with power of the souls, as we have already going through this with the 2 eyes. And we ask you to spread the Gans waters each Sunday. Now we give you a new path. Now try to unite each other's souls. Try to elevate the souls of humanity, soul of humanity, through your own soul to a level that no one can touch, the embodiment of the human race. So beautiful. Choose a time where all of you come together on the soul level in a state of inner calmness. At that time, don't spread the water of Gans, but spread your soul. Unite, and in time, we will make a new race out of the soul of man. And then, instead of doing it once a week, do it all the time. Keshe.
Okay, so I thought we'd go back to the intro and play a little bit of this. This is the process that happens every day. You can participate in, you can be part and share it with the others of how to bring the peace. Again, it's not so much through the matter state, but it's the collection of the energies of the soul that will touch the others. So let's see if we can just go back, and maybe I'll just do something here for a few minutes. I'll just pick any sort of spot. And we'll take about 5 minutes. And this is a beautiful encouragement. This is, again, from the 23rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop, but you can find this little excerpt from the 23rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop in the 632. And this was the intro for the workshop. And as Mr. Keshe said, not a lot has changed since he delivered this.
Don't punish them, but give them enough that they have enough, they don't look in another pocket. This goes the same to the Rothschild family. Let's pray for them, let's give our souls to them, to elevate them, that they find through their finances to finance peace, not arms. We are very clear of who supports and which soul and which physicality is supporting what. Let them use their talents and their finances for the better of man through their souls. When you go to sleep, when you have peace time, not necessarily going to sleep, just open your heart, your emotional side or your soul to the whole Rothschild family. They need, but when their soul is satisfied, their physicality will change direction. Maybe then the money which is spent on developing weapons will be spent on developing and finding solutions for mankind. I don't know, but maybe we need to pray for our own soul to evolve, that through that we can evolve and reach them. Every soul on this planet has the power to reach the status of the soul of the prophet of the past. You can attain the levels of the souls of His Holiness the Christ, or bless His name, Muhammad. It's you who puts the limitation, not your soul. And through that, if sharing of a body and a bread could reach 2.2 billion people on this planet after 2,000 years, maybe 1 million of us can reach a few handful of the souls of Rothschilds and Prime Minister of Israel and the people who run their country. That they open their gates of their soul to their body, that we find peace, and through it we find development. The maturity of the man has come when there has been equality. For years they spoke about the slavery, how much a slave they used to make the pyramids of Egypt. And now that documents have been translated and stones have been read, we find out has been very, very little between the top man in the army and the soldier who pushed the stones. Because there was equality. Because without one, the other one couldn't complete. Maybe it's time to share the soul, not the prayers. And then we can reach a point of 300-400 years of Rothschild financing wars to create money more. We give them all the wealth, but at the same time we give the wealth from the soul, not the physicality. If man makes history of the people who financed wars and created conditions for wars to be created, in the time coming you'll find out no one of them will reach beyond the solar cell of this solar cell. Because the life in universe will not allow them to pass. So even for those who call themselves the financiers of the war, and the ones who speak about the war, they start learning about the war. Till we don't stop the wars in man, in himself and with his nations and with his rest of the fellow man, we have not developed the structure to be able to join the universal condition. It's very, very strange. 10 years ago, all the Western nations were in a hurry to get to Iraq because it was a lot to rob. The central bank was full of gold. And today, the same nation is under more threat and nobody wants to go in because they already robbed the central bank. We might send a few drones and we might attack a few people. But the country is in total, absolute chaos. Because there is no more money to rob, there is no interest because they know they robbed it. Maybe if we rob all the nations of all their gold, Rothschilds will not be interested in any more wars. I pray for your souls. All of you under any name of company or whatever you work under. Is not building a reactor to match the soul of these people, to affect them. Their souls has to receive so much that by saturated, has no choice but to find a position to become part of.
Okay, so let's again just take that time to, this was a beautiful encouragement. You can listen to it multiple times. It brings a confidence and again brings you more understanding about working through this energy dimension. And this is the way we reach through our wishes or through our energies, the soul of the leaders, not the leaders themselves, but that we give through our emotions that they could pick up. And we're creating a bouquet of emotions in a way to send to the world leaders. And of course, the daily intentions by the Brazilian team goes on every day. at 1 a.m. or on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. This is an actual meeting that you can join and discuss and hear some of the feedback from the others and give from your soul, just learning this process. So we continue to strengthen the soul of that group, but it certainly has the strength to see the process through. So you can look at these links. You can join a meeting in the YouTube or the Zoom or the Telegram, I believe, and those are the times. 1 a.m. daily, Wednesday at 6 p.m. for the elevation of the world leaders. So that's in the Brazilian structure. And of course, the Universal Council, if I go to what Rick usually brings now lately at the end of the workshop, I think it's at 319. So we're just going to go back there again and allow Rick to, and we're just going to take a minute of our time to show you how easy the process is. And the beauty of it is no one fails this test. So we're going to go to 319.11. See if we can just find that real quick. And I think here we are. Okay. And this is an invitation that you're all invited. Again, not a formal meeting, but from the Universal Council, as requested by Mr. Keshe, that we use our energy dimension on a regular basis, not just once a time, but try and do it all the time. This is part of this connection with these universal fields. And again, discovering more about our energy dimension. So let's hear Rick. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Shweta. And thank you, Stefan.
Share it. Okay, message from the Universal Council. It says, we, the Universal Council, invite the Keshe and Universal family present at the Earth to unifying at the soul level every day, every day at 9 p.m. Central European Time. To give from our field strengths to enlighten the souls of world leaders, to negotiate and sign the World Peace Treaty, pledging their nations to everlasting peace on earth and throughout the universe. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So this is the process that happens every day. Again, nobody's keeping records or track. You don't punch in or punch out. It's not like a time card thing. But again, it's just understanding this energy dimension and how powerful you are as a field generator to touch the other souls. We have the master connection through the soul of the creator, and working in this dimension is very easy. So let's again continue the process. I was hoping we would match it up, but the time has gone by. So let's just take 1 minute and demonstrate how easy the process is. So we'll just have 1 minute to 60 seconds. And again, every day you can decide to participate in this process collectively or individually. And we're learning we can connect anywhere across the universe.
Thank you, listen.
Sorry. Okay, so let's just take, we can start right now and just sort of exercise this. I know it may not feel comfortable, especially to those who haven't sort of explored a little bit about this energy dimension, but this is where the actual, you're sort of moving out into that energy dimension of the universe in a way, or this is the dimension of the creator, the energy dimension. And this is what we've sort of forgotten about and not thought it was of any value in a way, unless we were working in the matter state. Roll up your sleeves and get something done. But now we know we have the mother connection, all of us, and we can accomplish this. So let's just take 60 seconds and we'll start now. And that's just how simple and easy the process is. Again, we're just learning to give through our emotions, that it touches their soul, if the soul picks it up and decides to change a dimension in the dimension of physicality. So thank you all for your continued participation in this process, as you choose. But this is what we're doing, waking up the soul of the collective awareness that they can give to bring the position, give in the energy dimension, not give in the matter state. So thank you all as we continue the process until we reach a permanent peaceful condition. We can go back to the teaching, or we can listen to 30 minutes from Alex, since he's not with us today. He's kindly sent us a presentation. It's about 30 minutes or so. Let's see, 31 minutes. And perhaps we should go into this right now. Okay, let's do that. And again, I haven't listened to this. This will be the first time as well for myself. So.
Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Okay, it is running. Yeah, I was going to bump it forward a little bit. Let's just see, as soon as I do that, I'm probably, okay, here we are. I think we're ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute teachings on plasma science. We're discussing the intermediate Picotech series. The subject today is inherent. My name is Alexander. I am from Canada. It is March the 8th of 2026, and this is part of the Keshe Foundation North America Plasma Education Series. So we have carried on many classes. In this series, we discussed ribbons, beacons, And today we will discuss inherent and see what that means, because we're trying to differentiate in our understanding of the matter plasma dimensions. So we say the physical, you can touch it and see it, but the plasmatic, you cannot touch it or see it. And so we have to think outside of the box, because we've gone down into the new science, which is now on the pico level and beyond, 10 to the minus 12th. We're getting close to the principal matter, the PM takes, which are magnetical, coming together as a force field dilution. These energy packs converge as antimatter, dark matter, and matter gen. And then, of course, they interact with the Earth space, which also is a maggrav. Gravitational is its attribute, and these two interact in what we call the field interaction, defined as inertia. And so this is where we are in the beyond Beijing era of May the 10th of 2025, when the gold rush began. And here we are in 2026 when the silver rush began. So we're discussing the picoatomic structure, which is beyond the nanomonatomic state. We talked about the pico beacon. It's gravitationally inherent field strength. That's what it's all about. So how do we get on the transmutation highway? We're on the lowest, the carbon 12, the transmission highway. In between the carbon 14 is the transition highway. And so when we talk about the raindrops and how they act as a beacon, when they splash into the water, the waves go up and the waves go down. But this magnetical strength of the raindrop is imparted through its gravitationally inherent picocore. So that energy is then transferred into this wave that emanates in all directions. But we don't recognize those things. In our little tiny perfect world, we understand waveforms as a crooked mile to drive a straight line. That's part of our transmission, such as the Karakoram Highway, where we have the magnetical up and the gravitational down. And then we see this is represented as frequencies. We call that a sine wave in singularity. But you see what happens when you overlap. You have sine waves in duality, and it causes distortion. We also see modulation, where we can increase the height of the wave, or sine waves in duality, where we can overlap fields or even distort the images. This is all part of trying to make sense of Marin Tevekoli Keshe's book number 1, The Universal Order of Creation, where we brought together the matter, the antimatter, and the dark matter. And then, of course, book number 2, The Structure of Light, where you have one universal matter going to another universal matter and being connected with the light. So there's a start and there's an end. There's a launch and there's a destination. And then we see in book number 3, The Origin of the Universe, where from one point we create the man's universe and the sister universe, which we never talk about. We're having a hard time just talking about our own universe, because we're just concerned with that little tiny speck in that man's universe, which we call the Earth space. And then on top of that, we have our own little tiny thing. And so our ancestors, we say, were cavemen. And today, the modern people are condo men. We are living in condo caves. So we are trying for 420 weeks to bring together one planet, one nation, one race for justice and world peace with Rick Crammon and the members of the Universal Council, so that we understand this angular density that they call us the fallen angels, because we're falling through weakness. And in that process, we increase the density, we increase the pressure, we increase the gravity. This is an increased dependence on Earth space feeding, but it's counterbalanced by that internal pressure of the Gans fields. That's why angular momentum is conserved. So when we talk about duality, we think of duals as duality. That's a confrontation where energy coming together manifests as a friction. This friction may be where we bring the hands together and clench fists and manifest into fighting. This is all part of the inertia density manifestation. And we say euphemistically, gentlemen, shake hands and come out fighting. Yes, indeedy. 24 commandments that are given to us because we don't have dog commandments. So the dogs are smarter than we are. And we have to focus on understanding the thou shalt not lie. Why? Everybody else seems to do it. Tell me what I want to hear. Don't tell me what I need to hear. But this is all part of our energy binding. It's self-serving, isn't it? That's a dimension point. But we do this at the expense of others, focusing on me, myself, and I. And then what happens? You rob someone else of that, and then they themselves have to supplement. And this is all part of our diminishing of our vitality enhancement. We all become loose leakers in a way. And so we need a top up, not just regular, but super. And this has to do with our emotional and physical vitality. So now we're seeing what the gold rush really means. So in our transaction zone, we have to understand that singularity requires a solo effort, but a duality requires partnership. And a partnership in reality requires reciprocity. There has to be a balance of incentives, not where one is more equal than the other, because the plasma rule is the higher strength feeds the weaker strength, not the higher strength bombs the weaker strength. Either way, it's a transaction zone, because whether it's a point of conflict where two armies come together, or it's a binding zone where everyone comes together through that inertia density manifestation. So what we're talking about is the inherent characteristic. What does inherent mean? It's existing in something as a permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute, right? And that's the point. We're trying to build dimensions. And in that dimension is the fundamental gravitational pico point. And so when we add a second point, we connect one, not the same pico point. And then we see that there's a charge based on surface to volume ratios. And when we have even those two dimensions, we see the relationship of the positive and negative charges. But when we have a bend in the path, we create a third dimension, and we create a different charge gradient. And of course, this is the inflection point that we keep talking about. And to balance out all the charges, we see where the hydrogen is on one side and the oxygen is on the other side. And then this is how we relate to what we call elevation. What we're seeking is magnetical stability. That's our emotion of position. That position is a position of choice, and it's based on gravitational stability. We've been saying that all along because we see the humanity's civilization with 7 civilizations coming together, all with the same story of the Great Flood. And they're all coming to that point where they emanate like a beacon, that inherent dependency on each other. So we see the similarity of the nanocharges, where we see a beacon charge and then, of course, a beacon discharge. And so that was the original nano alignment that we got from this monatomic alignment of nanocoating on a copper wire, except that that nanocoating was a carbon nanocrystal. And then we had layers which nested each other. So we ended up with nano monatomic layers. And in between those layers, we had nano gaps. So when you look at a star formation as a tetrahedron, you take your 2 index fingers from each hand, point them together, and turn one hand 90 degrees, you see how the star formation is formed. So based on that, the magnetical is up and the gravitational is down. And this is a key point, because when you have boots on the ground, you have to understand wherever you are on this planet, you're not upside down, you're not down under, and you're not boots on the ceiling. You're always on the ground. So what does that mean? So when we look at the watershed and we see how the mountain ranges affect the wind currents, and how the charge goes from the westerlies to the easterlies, where you have the windward side to the leeward side, and you have your gravitational conformation with the mountains above and the seas below. And this is all on part of the planet. But let's change the watersheds and say that these watersheds are inherent gravity. So these mountain ranges on both sides, whether it's westward or leeward, are magnetical. At the core is the picocore. So both sides of the mountain are gravitational. And there's your gravitational conformation, because without that, there would be no mountain. And the same would be true for the seas, wouldn't it? But what happens? What happens if we rotate these mountains 90 degrees? They still stay together, don't they? When you pick up a rock and you hold it in your hands, it's magnetical on all the sides, isn't it? So that means in the core, that picocore, you have your gravitational conformation of your physical manifestation. But what happens when you have this inherent gravity coming together as a picocore in duality? You have another gravitational conformation. So whichever way you look at it, whatever is an inertia density manifestation has a gravitational conformation at its core. So now we understand this inherent picocore at the center of the star formation of the rotating balls, where we have each ball is driven by an electric motor rotating with GANs inside, and it creates a plasma field. And all of these fields coming together create a dynamic plasma in the core. And that's what we did with the rotating balls in Beijing for all the public to see, but not just one rotating ball, but two rotating balls. And then, of course, that's how we produced the gold, wasn't it? It was raining. That's why you had all the spoons out there, all the silver spoons to catch all the gold. So we see how these dynamic reactors all come together as the fields grow around each of these balls. And that's the point. So we understand these nanostars, how they actually work as multiple monatomic energy flows. And this creates a superconductor at room temperature. So the line of connection is an inherent connection line. And we understand the difference between the animate and the inanimate is that more than 3 in a chain is a polymer, not an animate like you and I. So this is all part of the nuclear feeding inertia. And so we have fragments of the complexity, and each of these fragments have a gravitational stability. And since they all work together, they all have a dimensional portability. That's the dimension point. And each point, as they come together, 1 + 1 + 1 point, is more than 3 points coming together, because you don't lose the one to create the other. There's always a balance. This is our plasma matter dilemma, where we have to understand that the relationship between the atomic state, nanostate, and the GAN state, which are all in the physical state, and the plasma state, which is the supporting state, each side of the equation has a magnetical gravitational balance. And so we can balance off each state for one side to the other, but we also have the MAGRAV energy transfer state to allow us to go from state to state and still maintain that balance. So each of these fragments act as a clue. So we see the convergence and we see the divergence. And so that interaction manifests into a gravitational convergence and a magnetical divergence. And that's the point, because what happens when we do a gene modification? Then we have an adaptation confusion. Is it disruption? Is it alteration? Is it enduring? Is it reversible? Because we have inherent attributes. These are never changed. That is the key point, because our cellular beacons are able to transcend all of these force fields, and they create this magnetical outness and this gravitational inness. And that is emanating from the pico core in the nucleus, and each and every cell is done that way. And so we see the amino acids, how they are the building blocks of life. And we have the magnetical stability on one side and the gravitational stability on the other side. And due to its activity, as the ribbons flow, we are able to create life. And so the beacons of truth are that the hydrogen is the transmission reality, and it is inherent in our DNA, in our RNA, and becomes part of our beacon of consciousness. So we are carbon-based, which means we are organic, but our Earth space is silicon-based, which means it's inorganic. But there's a fundamental difference. We are calcium inherent. That calcium is that gravitational neutron with that internal pressure. And so that becomes a fundamental gravitational reality. And it offers this plasma chain consistency. So we have this gravitational neutron interaction with the out-tensity interaction. And all of our cells can do that. And so we see that the plasma matter dilemma actually has to do with the charge. The charge is gravitational stability, and each side of the equation offers the magnetical stability. And that stability is inherent because of the magnetical gravitational relationship of the MAGRAV state. And it is from this emission of intention that comes from that inherent state, gives us that dynamic beyond the aura plasma interaction, where we can go from one field that's a launch point to another field, which is a target point, and then return as a launch point from that field back to the original target point. So this is what we did when we were working with the GANs of the soul. We took the cups of life, and each of them was a cup of life product. And we took 2 cups of the emotion, and they came together with an emotional transaction zone. And we took 2 cups of physicality and put them together and came up with a cup of physicality transaction zone. And then the 2 worked together into the nucleus, that transaction zone at the pico core. And that gave us that gravitational stability. So you are a gravitational entity traveling in a magnetical field of PM ticks. And so when we look at the cup of the universe and we see the copper GANs, which is physical, and the zinc GANs, which is emotional, and the carbon GANs, which is a connection to the universe. And the language isn't word made, it's love made. And so where is this gravitational stability? Is it symmetry or is it a reflection? That is always the question, isn't it? Because that reflection could be an illusion. And this is how we were pioneering in America. And are we sure we know what we're looking at? And the same is true with love, how we have symbolism like Aphrodite, the ancient Greek goddess of love, beauty, and passion and procreation. So the point is that the carbon inertia highway also has a substructure. And that substructure also has a substructure. So to maintain both, we have to have a cosmic ray equilibrium. And so we see the stability on each and every one of them is foundationally gravitational, and the emission is foundationally magnetical. That is the inherent structure. And so we see that as we create the free plasma, there's an inherent connection line between one star formation, which is a transaction zone, and another star formation, which is a transaction zone. And this is all fed by a unique characteristic. But they are all in our plasma state. The carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen combination of amino acids, part of the creation of life. And they are all inherently as a structure within a structure. That is at the picocore in the nucleus. And so we have this capability because in singularity, we had a susceptibility where we could inherently create gold. But the inherent susceptibility and duality required us to have a gravitational completion with an external input of the Gans field of humanity. And that's how we balance things out. So if we understand these balancing counterweight measures, put them in perspective, the physical state is weight, the atomic state is mass, but these are the gravitational component. And the nuclear state is Tesla's, and the plasma state is time. These are the magnetical components. And so when we bring the plasma fields together, there are no two plasmas the same. And so even the same plasma that has to go through different formats still coming together. We'll discuss that more in the future, but they require to create that dimension point, that transaction zone, bringing together the magnetical and gravitational force fields and then interacting. And so we have this gravitational confirmation. Oxygen is the one that crosses the threshold and is gravitationally inherent in our Earth space. And so the GANs can decay from gas to liquid to solid. And this is all part of the plasmatic decay down to the GANs. And from there, we have this supplementation that's due to the consumption that we have grown accustomed to based on that knowledge, which is actually an acquired knowledge, conditional teaching by ancient teachers. But what about the unconditional teaching by the Creator? So we don't have to supplement that 20%. So it requires a new awareness, a historical threshold between the cosmic feeding and the Lush harvesting is at that point of that threshold. So these inherent attributes that we have not only give us a gravitational confirmation, but we understand it's a gravitational center point. It's a gravitational picocore. It's a gravitational certainty. It's all part of the mutually assured construction. That's why we're headed into uncharted territory, because we are the herd at the turning point, including the many stars beyond the nanomonatomic state, covering that range from decay to radiation. We are the ancestral intelligence. We are the AI. We are the technology. We are the inertia product. We are the image of our dimensional convergence point. And so we understand this energy is portable. And so the energy state transition means elevation going from the physical matter state to energy state, and inertia going from the energy state to the physical matter state. So elevation involves expansion. And our knowledge seekers workshops, now going into our 13th year, 632 weeks in a row, suddenly transcending the limitations of the nuclear science, bringing together the greater oneness of our inherent gravitational stability. And we all can practice this at the Cosmic Ray Transmission Centers. The next session is coming up on March 27th. Here we are with the research teams turning diamonds to gold or silver or anything else that you want. Since May the 10th of 2025, this is the picocore of truth. And we have to bring this scientific rescue to open the blinds, one nation network at a time. That time is now, because here we have embedded inherent frequencies And this is part of our understanding the relationship between the soul and the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality. But somehow we have this threshold, this gravitational inherent blockage. It's only inherent because it's acquired. There is no inherent blockage. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We want to bring man as equal to all the beings in the universe by teaching the plasma science and technology equally to everyone, that no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. So please help us achieve this goal. The World Peace Treaty is fundamental to that. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, Teachings on Plasma Science, welcoming all the beautiful plasma travelers of the carbon nations, learning about the new frequencies of the new organic plasma science. That World Peace Treaty is something that we have to choose. Sign it unconditionally, mean it sincerely. The point of the true Picotech is the polyatomic core manifestation in our gravitational stability. Overlapping ribbons of Earth space create that peace dome. We're all part of that. So is the inertia of the present governed by the dimensions of history, or is it time to learn the history of self in a universal context? The pico state silently explodes as a peaceful superconductor. That emotional strength is inherent gravitationally in the pico core of matter, plasma, and universal states. So the plasma science needs to continue to be enhanced daily by the Peace Dome in a practical exchange for peace on Earth. So welcome to the new outer space stage. And thank you for allowing me to continue to present. That's the end of the class. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. We're missing you, and hopefully you'll be back next week to answer any of these questions, or maybe someone in the participants list would like to share something. Again, we're just opening up more and more. We don't hear this kind of talk from our professors or from our doctors, or maybe even from our parents and or our neighbors and friends. This is something in a way that if we can't see it, it can't be real, because we're so connected to the matter state. So thank you, Alex, for, again, exposing a little bit more of this knowledge that we apply to ourselves and understand for ourselves. But we look forward to you returning next week, and perhaps someone will have some questions about this, or maybe you can pose them here and we'll bring them up next week. But as he said, and as Mr. Keshe said, this is inherently built into our structure, this energy dimension. It's just we've ignored it and not played with it much, and so it doesn't exist to us, because it's been quite a while since we started to use, even though we are using the energy dimension, not in the as much of a conscious level as we can, and actually direct it and connect with any other structure, any other entity. It's just that we haven't believed in what we can't see, which is this plasma wind, or these energies of emotion, if you could put it that way. But again, I'm still learning along with everyone else. We're all growing into this at different speeds and different strengths, but hopefully we're all moving closer to the greater. Should we go back to the workshop, or shall we end this session a bit early? I can't answer really many questions because I don't fully understand everything myself.
We could end. I have somewhere to be.
Okay, very good. Again, the teachings will continue as we're opening up new dimensions for all of us. And again, the friends and neighbors may kind of think this is strange, but we're humbled and privileged to be here and even to contemplate this universal knowledge from a universal teacher who's had millions of years, our years, sort of experiencing this process of bringing civilizations into the larger family. And this is what it's all about. And of course, creating the permanent peaceful condition. Otherwise, you're right back in the same position. So if there's no other thoughts, questions, or comments, I could play the final disclaimer. But again, apply some of these techniques, and as I said, this will bring you some sort of a balance within your own structure, that you may be proud of the work you do. And it's not physical work. You may be proud of the person you are because you're actually bringing the peace, and you may be proud of the difference you're making, even though we don't perhaps see it manifesting at this time as fast as we want it. We have to reach that collective. But again, the idea of the three wise men, the thinking, speaking, and acting, this is the dimension of space I believe he's talking about, and it's right between your ears. As he said, the man exists and operates in the universe, and the universe exists and operates within the man. And of course, that would be quite natural if you're made in the image of the Creator, which is one of our favorite sort of quotes from some of the holy books or wherever it's come from. And that was one of the first things. So we're definitely made in the image of the Creator. We don't need any intermediaries, but it's for you to discover it, to take yourself out of this kind of abuse that we see across the board. Again, in the universities, in the medical, in the scientific community, and every point in between. So thank you for participating. Thank you for bringing the change in a very small way. We're all carrying a small corner of a very large carpet. If there's no further comments or questions, thank you again, Alex, for going out of your way and preparing a meeting. Hopefully you don't do this too often. I guess you could be here and be somewhere else as well, but I don't mind. I'll play your recordings any day of the week. I appreciate your presence and your sharing. And again, we're just sharing what we think we understand about this knowledge, but as Mr. Keshe said, we're starting to go much deeper. He's bringing us much deeper into the knowledge, which probably doesn't take much because we're not too deep in it already, or maybe we're deeper than we give ourselves credit for. But one of the good tests is if you're moving away from the killing and destruction, whether it's in the physicality or in that dimension of space that you operate in. Okay, if there's no further comments, questions, thank you all again. We appreciate your presence. And I'll play the final disclaimer and the session will come to an end. Thank you all again. We'll see you in one of the next meetings. Remember the testimonial meeting. If you have any testimonial, large or small, Monday, Rick will hold the monthly testimonial session, and you can bring a testimonial, large or small, or just be there to support on the energy level, or you don't even have to be there, and you can still support on the energy dimension. This is what we're starting to work with. This is the dimension the Creator works with, and of course in the matter state as well, but primarily in the energy dimension. Thank you all again, just being impartial. This is just what I think I understand, or my way of seeing how this knowledge befits me. And that's part of the whole instruction of the foundation, is see how this knowledge befits you without any intermediaries or without any sort of peer review as we share what we think we understand. Thank you all again. Hopefully we'll see you next week, God willing, and hopefully we're here for next week and the week after as well. I'll play the final disclaimer now and see you soon. Let's just back this up. Okay.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.